Okay, everyone's doing all right? All right. Tonight's topic is spiritual bypassing. Two students asked me to speak on this topic. So I'll offer some comments on it. Apparently, spiritual bypassing is a technical word. It's a term that a therapist who's also a spiritual practitioner came up with about 30 years ago, observing some of the happenings in Dharma centers and the behaviors of the people there. So what spiritual bypassing, how this person describes it is, I think his name is Will Wood. How this person describes it is that students, by extension, teachers, use the Dharma practice as some kind of substitution to avoid dealing with their own real life issues. Now, many of us come to the Buddhist practice, Dharma practice, or any spiritual practice because we want to find some kind of inner peace, happiness. We want to find some kind of solution to the problems that we're facing, that we are feeling. So, because we're complex human beings with a whole history of feelings and the meaning that we derive from these experiences that we carry with us throughout our lives, and many of which are unresolved, naturally, people tend to gravitate to the methods of practice, stages of realization, different experiences that newly acquire through spiritual practices, to somehow not face what needs to be faced. Hence the word bypassing. And of course, there's a great scale of the range of intensity with which we experience these issues within us. This problem of spiritual bypassing, avoiding facing ourselves, the human side of ourselves, our desires, our needs, our aspirations, and the history through which we have lived our lives and have shaped us, is something that was present even during the Shakyamuni Buddha's time. It's not something new. The term may be created 30 years ago, but this phenomenon goes back in early scriptures. You can see some of the arhats, liberated, awakened beings. They have some personality problems. Right? There are cases in which these arhats, some of them are cold, aloof. Some of them are just mean. Others, arrogance. There's even one who has this habit tendency of scolding people. So you may call that residues of aversion, anger, resentment, agitation. Now, do they still harbor the poisons of the mind? Namely, greed, hatred, ignorance. No. Their intentions are free from that. Do they still manifest that? Yes. To some extent. Why is that? The analogy I have is, it's like the wine bottle. I don't drink alcohol, but this is a good analogy. So like a wine bottle. You dump out the wine and you smell the bottle, it still has the scent of alcohol. Similarly, in the mental continuum of people, practitioners, even awakened practitioners, such as the arhats, there's still the scent of the poisons of the mind. When does a person actually become free of those? Full Buddhahood. Full Buddhahood. This is not the Buddhahood that Chan, Zen, or other Buddhist traditions talk about, like Dzogchen, Mahamudra. They talk about full Buddhahood, or Vipassana, Buddhahood in this life. It's not that Buddhahood. I'm talking about eons and eons of practice, complete fulfillment of all the perfections. Then the stains or the stench of the poisons of the mind completely disappears. Short of that, you can pretty much guarantee that all practitioners are working with these issues. So that's the first thing. But this brings up a point. And that is it possible to reach awakening without resolving these issues? Yes. What do you call that? Spiritual bypassing. You can bypass that. If you have to work through all of these issues, and then at the end of the tunnel, you reach awakening, it's too long. It's not even possible. It is possible, however, to have glimpses or very deep, profound experience of awakening that lasts for weeks, months, years, and have these issues. This is a fundamental difference. Buddha Dharma practice is not psychotherapy. It is not a way to, in a sense, kind of better ourselves or improve our personality. It's not. It can be all the perfections of the Buddhist practice, right? Because these are meant to actually transform these deep, embedded stench of vexations. So it includes that, but that's not the actual goal. That's not the actual goal. what is the actual goal? Freedom. I'll get back to this point. What is the goal of psychotherapy or therapy in general? Well, according to Freud, he phrased it, I will hope it's humorously. It says from hysteric misery, to bring people from their hysteric misery into a shared common level of a basic unhappiness. That's how he framed it, Freud, right? I think we have gone a long way in modern therapy beyond what Freud defines it. To the level of happiness, a sense of fulfillment, being at ease, connected to different aspects of ourselves, and content with all of our issues, personality issues. There's a history to why we are the way we are. Most of this happens in how we have come to be who we are. Happens through osmosis, gradually, day by day, thought by thought. The ways in which we have strung together these thoughts and feelings through the days, weeks, months, decades, years. They have formatted us to be a particular way. And it's almost self-evident in the way that we have made the link between these moments of experiences, linking them, giving rise to a sense of permanence, a sense of continuity of me, I, mine. These links are made at an unconscious level. They may have begun when we were children. The survival mechanisms through which we came up with our childish minds. Not to belittle children, but the mind that we had when we were children, the survival mechanisms, the strategies of survival, to cope with what is happening around us in this whirlwind of flux and change. We've learned. The problem is we have carried some of these outdated, decades-old survival strategies into our adulthood. Even though they don't really work. And that's what I see the genius of good therapy can do. They make these subliminal, undercurrent mechanisms of strategies surface, right? And conscious. So you can call unconscious, make the unconscious conscious. And this is what I call exposing, right? Embracing, working through, then letting go. Like these fourfold processes. This genuine, necessary process of going through these stages, and it's not linear, by the way, it's reciprocal. The more we expose, the more we're able to accept. The more we accept, we actually expose more. Right? And then we can work through them. Right? And be at peace. So I see the genius of therapy as having the potential to accomplish this. But the Dharma focuses on that which is most important: freedom. And the necessary prerequisites for this freedom. It identifies, for example, in Yogacara, consciousness only school, it identifies the necessary mental factors that must be present for practice, must be cultivated. And the negative mental factors, the unwholesome ones, the root ones that must be dealt with. It has 52 different mental factors. It doesn't mean we have only 52 different mental states. We're so complex. But it doesn't deal with that. Why? Because it's not necessary to reach liberation, to reach awakening. You don't have to go through all of that to deal with all of our issues. You need what needs to be done, what can be done. Focus on those, and the person will be able to be free. Right? So in that sense, it is a kind of bypassing, if you will. But in order to be whole, to be a good person, to be responsible, we have to deal with our issues. We have to deal with all the complex human sides of our experience and meaning. This requires a good teacher. This requires clear, good instructions on what practice is, how the mind works. And part of that practice involves validating our personal history of who we are. That's why it's important. My teacher have laid out this blueprint, if you will, of affirming the self. Maturing the self. Then letting go of the self. Right? You can't really work on ourselves without affirming ourselves, without validating our human experiences, right? Our past. This is what shaped us, our childhood, our rearing process, the way that we have strategized how to survive, how to reconcile this sense of lacking inside. Right? From our limited developmental brain. And this is the human side. The brain doesn't become fully developed in the mid-20s. So whatever strategy, survival tactics that we have come up with when we're 5, when we're 6, when we're a teenager, is limited. It's limited, so it's skewed. For example, children, in traditional Buddhism, we don't really teach children how to really engage in meditation until they're about maybe 11, 7 to 11, 10, 11. Why? Because earlier than that, children cannot engage in abstract thinking. They cannot distinguish themselves from their thought. Oh, I have a wandering thought coming, and I should go back to the method. Whatever they think of, that's what they are. So they can't disassociate themselves. Why? The brain hasn't completed the wiring process yet. And so they could meditate, give them some fun things to meditate on. Right? But they can't really go deep in meditation because the brain cannot engage in distinguishing between discursive thinking and awareness of that. Right? So there's no distance. There's no space on which they can actually see thoughts and be able to let it go. Right? So it's a developmental process. So whatever strategy we came up with our inability to think abstractly, for example, mommy, daddy go to work. They come home tired. I need my attention from them. I need my love. But they're tired. This is a give daddy and mommy a break. We had to fix dinner. We had to do this. But what I sense, I can't engage in abstract thinking that, mommy and daddy have worked all day. They're tired. I have to give them some space. And then, when they have time, they can play with me. It doesn't mean they don't love me. Children can't do that. What they feel in that moment, what's going through their mind is this embodied feeling of unloved. I'm not loved. And they have come up with particular strategies, survival tactics to mend the situation. So there are 4 strategies that I've identified. 1, pleasing. And you see this in people, after you hear me talk about these 4. Pleasing type. So they don't have love. So they found ways to do something good, to be a good boy, to be a good girl, so that they can get the affection. Right? Whatever way that they come up with. But basically, the first type is pleasing. Second type, blaming. Blaming. It's a kind of anger. Right? First time has some resonance with, in Buddhism, desire. Right? The first poison of the mind. Second one, aversion, to manifest as blaming. It's their fault. They've always done this to me. That's why I'm like this. That's aversion. Third type. They don't try to please. They don't try to blame. They've resorted to themselves to keep themselves busy. Or they evade the issue at hand, how they feel. They don't know what to do with it. Feeling alone. They don't know what to, so they just do something else. It's called distracting, self-distracting. Right? This is the type of people that's, you're in a group, there's always one joker. Right? Anything serious happen, that person had to make a joke out of it. To lighten up the situation. It's a kind of distracting. Right? And we distract ourselves. When we face difficulties, we just do something. I have a friend. His wife was giving birth. His wife was giving birth. So very intense, the first child, he doesn't know what to do. He's just, so honey, I have to go wash the car now. So he went downstairs and drove out to a car washer and just started to, had to distract him. Whenever he encountered things, he has to just do something else. The fourth type also come from not blaming, not pleasing, but to kind of resorting to oneself. And these are very intelligent children. And somehow they have tapped into that intelligence where they can actually rationalize. They can think through stuff. Maybe not so young as children, but when they get older, they've learned this mechanism of rationalizing. And they're very good at analyzing the situation. They still have suppressed feelings of unlove, for example, but they justify it through their rationalization, their thinking. They're very good at analyzing other people's problems. So these pleasing, blaming, distracting, and rationalizing. And much of this is only one side of the equation. The other side is that these mechanisms is actually learned through the body. They have completely embodied it. Right? So the body has the intelligence of these four modes of strategy. Okay? So they developed physiological, corporeal responses to these experiences. I would say at a cellular level, right? Every fiber of our being have these qualities. It's like muscle memory. You can piano player, guitar player, their bodies are so in tune with, in sync with their knowledge of musical notes or whatnot, that they don't really have to go through thinking anymore. They've embodied it. So they see the scores in the music, they can just start playing the piano. Or they encounter particular situations that they find themselves, they automatically go into that mode. Right? In neuroscience, this is called interoception. Interoception, in which the brain, our brain is not a reactive brain. Our brain is a kind of moment-to-moment interpretive brain, projecting brain. So it continues to predict what is going to happen with the luggage that we carry from our past. So these survival mechanisms are continually at work. Now, many of the higher levels of Buddhist practice do not really deal with this, because at the basic level, behavioral level, the Buddha Dharma's way of dealing with this is precepts. So even those arhats who have these personality issues, unresolved issues with their parents, with their friends, or whatever child rearing process that they've gone through, they still reach arhathood. But because of the absence of the poisons of the mind and their upholding the precept guard them, freedom from hurting other people. Right? So it's impossible for them to break precepts. So at the foundational level is this upholdings of precept that serves as a guard, as a protection for ourselves, from ourselves, and of course, others, harmonizing with others. So precepts are very important. At the medium level, we have all the perfections. 6 perfections, 10 perfections, or Eightfold Path. You can look it up in Google, see what they are. So all of these actually work with our emotions. This is not really talked about in this way. I haven't heard it from other Buddhist teachers. But this is the way I talk about it. They actually work with our emotions. For example, the 6 perfections. Generosity. Generosity is a particular mental feeling. It's a particular tone for a person to have a kind of charity, a kind of giving. So it's important to cultivate that. Of course, in addition to actually generosity, giving people material things and spiritual advice and so on, sharing the Dharma. But what's crucial here is the mental factor, what I call the undercurrent tone of feelings. And that generosity, that kind of mindset, nourishes a particular type of feeling tone. Same thing with precepts, the kind of vigilance, right? And ethical conduct of not harming oneself and not harming others. It's a particular feeling tone. It's based on the sense of connection with others. Connection. Right? Connected also to ourselves. Right? Likewise with diligence, patience, meditation practice, even wisdom. When it's applied to interpersonal relationship. Wisdom is compassion. Compassion is the action of wisdom. So the kind of sensitivity that one has to self and others. These are ways, the 6 perfections are ways to work with our emotions, ways to work with ourselves. But the top level methods, they don't deal with this. For example, Huatou, Gongnan practice. This is a practice originally designed on the foundation of Mahayana practice, 6 perfections, on the foundation of precept. If you divorce that from the foundation, what you have is spiritual bypassing. The koan practice. Whatever come up, put it down. Whatever vexations, put it down. What is it? You raise the koan. You're not meant to kind of experience them. Same thing with similar practices. These kind of, if you have a triangle pyramid, right? The top level are usually free from these foundational, intermediate practices that really work on ourselves. So if people only focus on that, then you have problems, especially without the foundational precepts. Then you break precepts and you cause havoc to the Dharma centers, student-teacher relationship, all kinds of issues that we can see in centers these days. So it's like building a house. You have to build the first floor, then the second floor, then you can enjoy yourself on the third floor. You can't kind of build a second floor or third floor without, like in midair, without foundation, without scaffolding, right? At least, at the very minimum, scaffolding, right? Like those beach houses. They don't really have a first floor. It's just kind of posts. Right? At least they have that, right? So that scaffolding is precepts. But the more foundational practice is quite rich also. So the stronger the foundation, the better the perfection practice. And then the deeper you're able to get into some of the higher teachings. But even at the foundational and the intermediate, like I said before, Buddhist Dharma is not really about kind of bringing a person to a kind of state of happiness and resolve kind of personal, emotional issues. It's not meant to do that. So it only cultivates the necessary qualities for freedom, for liberation. You can see it in the 6 perfections. Right? What are the necessary? You can see in some of these intermediate meditation methods, right? Loving kindness, right? Compassion, right? And the foundational practices of how to be a good person, how to be filial, devotional to one's parents. Right? That's in the early scriptures. Right? How to be a good neighbor. These issues. Now, in East Asia, we have our own kind of foundational practice. Right? In Confucian cultures, which values humility, which values kind of gratitude, Buddha Dharma, these foundational practices also has that. Right? So these must be the foundation. And must be cultivated, must be nourished for the sake of working through some of our issues. But what I want to say so far is that, one, spiritual bypassing has been around for thousands of years. Buddhism, cultivated in a particular way, could be said to be a kind of spiritual bypassing. It's focused on liberation. It's not focused on working through your personal issues. Does it have aspects of practices that deal with that? Yes, it does. It does. but it's not necessary. The bare minimum would do of working through yourself, the bare minimum, founded on precepts, right? Founded on just basic humanity of the common sense, being a good person. That's sufficient. But the real life of living out our lives, we can't be jerks. Very often, like I've said, we carry our outdated modes of survival tactics, strategies into our adulthood. So we're still kind of blindsided to some of the issues. We don't see it because they're so ingrained in us. So these two aspects of therapy, which is meant to unearth or make conscious these unconscious strategies, and Buddha Dharma, which is meant for liberation, these two can coexist, can work together. And the way I have taught my students, and the way I teach, especially in the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years, is this practice of what I call embodied experiencing. It's important to understand what this is, because in Buddha Dharma, awakening is not a product of practice. It is something intrinsic. It's something we already have. What is this awakening? It's not some mystical experience, nor is it some things outside ourselves, some acquired experience, knowledge, past history. It is right here, in this moment, the most natural, fundamental way of being. It is this awareness, freed awareness from the shackles of the narratives, the stories, the words and language, the interpretations, the survival strategies, what I call furniture. Awareness, which is we already have. The problem is we're not conscious participants of what we are actually aware of, or experiencing. We're just on automatic pilot, projecting our past to into the present, into the future. So the most direct way to bring these two together, right? The healing part of us, of ourselves, and the fundamental freedom of what we are, is through awareness. Now, I typically don't talk about awareness. Right? I talk about it sometimes, but I found using that word, because everyone is using it, it's so vague to the extent that no one really knows what the hell they're talking about. Like, what is it referring to? So the word that I've usually used is experiencing. Experiencing. And this experiencing is already embodied. The experiencing of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. It's already embodied. So embodied experiencing. moment to moment to moment, you're already experiencing. It's just that in this experiencing, we clutter it with so much furniture, luggage, that we don't really know what we are experiencing. We're just repeating our habit tendencies, right? Following the contents of our thoughts and feelings. So the practice that I teach stems from my years of practicing, decades of practicing silent illumination, and a complementary method of direct contemplation. Coupled with a correct attitude of being able to unearth, excavate all the clutter, all of our histories, all of our survival mechanisms, and having that, cultivating that clarity to not try to change it, not try to improve it. This is very important, but completely vulnerable and accept it without interpreting it. Because the mind's habit is to interpret, reify, solidify, and build a story around it. Right? So we refrain from label, judgment, narratives, storyline. We simply aware, simply what I called embodied, experiencing whatever that may be. The key is our habit tendency is to make links of our day-to-day, moment-to-moment, week by week, month by month, year by year, decades by decades of experiencing, linking it into narratives, into a permanent, self-evident sense of me, I, mine. And that is due to the linking, interpreting, our need for meaning have propelled us to do this. This is what we have always done. This is all that we've ever known. So, if we are completely open and vulnerable, allowing things to come up, a lot of things will come up. Our interpreting, our memory, thoughts, feelings. We have to not judge, not interpret. We have to completely accept. When we accept, we will discover. I'm going to put it in stages of practice, but please don't reify them into some kind of stages of practice. I'm on the third stage now. Maybe I should very close to the fourth one. Don't do that. This is just, I'm presenting it as a linear fashion for convention's sake, right? But it serves its usefulness, but it's a reciprocal process. Right? It may not be in the sequence, but I'm going to lay out one. when we are open to, when we have feelings of sadness, grief, or sense of loss, self-disparagement, well, when we catch ourselves projecting onto other people our wishes, we want this moment to be other than what it is. Open yourself, drop everything. Feel, embody, tap into the body, because the body has its own intelligence of feeling these things. You have to be in tune with it. Completely open yourself to the body. Ground yourself. Not up here. Not top heavy. Up here. Down here. Ground yourself. And you will discover beneath the layer of interpretation, storyline, there's these undercurrent feeling tones. Self-trashing, inadequacy, not good enough, loathing, or a particular need. Sadness. That's not where you stop. You have to let these things come out. It will flow through you. And if you feel like crying, you cry. Relax into this embodied experience. Let it flow through. And keep a wakeful, open. Completely accept. You will discover even beneath this layer of feeling tones. What is that? Corporeal, physiological sensations. You will start to identify different area of the body that's holding some of these emotions, decades old survival mechanisms. You will. What do? Continue to open. Continue to be vulnerable. Or you can lie down on the bed if you want. Whatever you may be, completely open to it. Ground yourself in the body. And you will discover at the level of sensations. So first, narratives, interpretations, then undercurrent feeling tones, then raw sensations. Beneath the raw sensation, you can still feel something. What is that? Just raw energies. Right? A few years ago, I've opened up myself. Last year was particularly strong. Opened up myself, and sometimes these things come. So I identify four stages, right? Interpreting, memory, thoughts and feelings, undercurrent feeling tone, raw sensations, bodily, corporeal, and energy. So I've opened up myself. It was kind of like a breakdown, emotional things. I discovered kind of feelings about my mother and my relationship. It just came on spontaneously. I was watching a movie. I was actually watching Spider-Man. I forget which like Spider-Man 2 or whatever. So I saw the Spider-Man, and his girlfriend died. His girlfriend died. When I saw in that moment his girlfriend died, it's not a happy ending. Actually, she died. A flood of things just came on. It had nothing to do with the movie. I was kind of paralyzed. I just sat there. You know, these feelings just come. And I just opened myself. Eventually, I just lied down on the bed. And I was traveling and teaching. I was at the last day of the retreat, and I was lying there. I couldn't move. All there was just flood coming out. That's the interpreting part. And then very quickly shifted into this feeling tone. Just kind of like this unfulfilled love. Like, well, just unloved, you may feel, you may say. You know? But it wasn't me, I, mine, unloved. It's just these feelings. Why? Because I'm not in the vortex. They may come up if I am feeling unloved. That's very good discovery. I'm not identifying myself with it. Right? I'm just open. I'm allowing it to be. And more interpretation, more memories rather, come up. I complete open. I was in there, I don't know how long, a couple of hours. And then it became just sensations. Just embody different parts. For me, it's here and also here. The chest and here. And I continued. And I continued. And that didn't, when I came to, it was so powerful, this experience. And subsequent months, I continued to have smaller episodes of that. Until I realized it's not really breakdown, it's actually a kind of breakthrough, these experiences. Because as it unfolded, the narratives and the memories and the experiences and how it's lodged, I became clear of what is and how it is. It has happened in me. So I know the narrative part. I realize the undercurrent feeling tone part. I understand the raw bodily experience part. I wasn't in my head. I was completely vulnerable and open. I allowed it to be. I allowed it to be like the spaciousness of the awareness. Pure experiencing without judgment. And the furniture, so much came out. Is it me? It's part of my history. But in working through that, I'm less identified to my past, to the history. Are they there? They're there. But more and more, I'm freed by it. And because I see all these different layers of it, I'm doing what the psychotherapists do, except this is self-practice. I'm excavating the subconscious level, the things that used to be blindsided me completely. I'm seeing that. And subsequent to that, I continue to have different unfoldings of these experiences. So, and I made mistakes. But I see through them now. We expose we embrace, we work through, and then we let go. As honestly and humanly possible to ourselves. If we don't do that, these hidden tendencies will ruin your relationship, your Dharma practice. And you will negatively engage in spiritual bypassing. There's a harmful way, and there's a naturally designed way of Buddha Dharma, because Buddha Dharma is not meant to kind of deal with therapeutic healing. Although it does, it could heal, but it's not meant to that. So that's a kind of bypassing, right? For awakening. So that's the way it's designed. But sometimes what hinder us is our personal human side, right? These issues. So for me, those 4 types, pleasing, remember, blaming, rationalizing, distracting. For me, it's a combination. I'm sure for everyone, it's probably a combination. It's just a matter of percentage, right? For me, it's a kind of pleasing, right? And this is quite common for practitioners, and I was doing that with my teacher. He was like a father to me. I came to the States when I was very young, just with my mom, and there's no father figure. And I projected onto my teacher. He saw me grow up from young all the way to adult. So even when I was his attendant, I have that thing going on. But the way he taught me, he himself is the super rational type, the 3rd type. So he can see right through what the hell I was doing and just cut it off. Which made me feel like, oh, I'm unloved, or publicly humiliated me. So it's like, made me face that. He made me face that. The more I practice now, the more I'm able to appreciate him. And the way that relationship was. Practice, after all, is a form of relationship, relating to ourselves, relating to others, relating to the Dharma. So I was able to see the way I tend to respond to people and so on. There's a side of me that's kind of rationalistic too. So these 2, pleasing and rational. My analytical mind is it's strong. You can tell. You can say, but this aspect of pleasing is also quite stronger. And so, having discovered this, having worked through and still working through this, still, I abide myself by the principle of Buddha Dharma. That is free. You're already free. Already freedom here. The spaciousness. I know the furniture. I don't need to identify with the furniture. That's not to say I deny them, I suppress them, or I'm blindsided by them. I'm not. I know they're there. They don't define me. Just like in your house, there's a lot of furniture. Do they define you? No. You have them. The point is not to throw them out the window, right? You can keep them. Some of them you need to recycle, remake them, make it usable. You don't deny them. You work through them. So already free. The other side of the equation, so I have to avoid spiritual bypassing. So I have to kind of really focus on my healing, focus on myself, self-care. Yeah, you can do some of that, but please don't turn Buddha Dharma into some kind of therapy or healing thing. It's not what it's meant to do. Right? So that's the other side. Dharma as therapy. Right? So it's spiritual bypassing and Dharma as therapy. That's also problematic as well. Right? Because the last thing you want is to feed into this tendency of self-care, of healing myself, acknowledging, and really what you don't want to do really is wallowing into these things. You don't want to do that, right? That becomes a hindrance. Right? All we have is the present moment. It's the present moment. So good therapy will also tell you that it's not about the past. It's about the present. The more you reify your past as something to heal, something to fix, improve, the more problem you'll have. You'll never heal. So always it's about the present. Present what? Being present to it. Being present. Exposing. Thoroughly embracing. Working through. Facing them. Right? Because it is our intrinsic freedom, this awareness, this embodied experiencing, what I'm talking about, that each and every one of you have. In Buddha Dharma, they call it Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, intrinsic awakening. It is this experiencing that will save you. Because in this experiencing, it is open, it is free. We have to consciously participate, aligning ourselves to this as the foundation and face it. When we do this effortlessly, we don't put effort into fixing ourselves. We put effort into participate. In Chinese, it's called Can Chan, investigating Chan. The word Can is investigating, but it also means complete embodying, participating. That is how you free yourself. And that is how you work through what needs to be done, what can be done for awakening. You don't have to work through every one of your childhood problems. You don't have to do that. Sufficient. You work through what needs to be done, what should be done. Once you have awakening, you have to awaken again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Right? Once you have that, the stronger your compass is, then you come back to work through those things. How? In the midst of engaging with the world. That's how you discover your shortcomings. That's how you discover your pleasing, blaming, rationalizing, analyzing, distracting. That's how you discover that. Layers upon layers of it. You won't get lost. Why? You've already tasted freedom. You don't get lost. Right. So that's what Chan Zen practice aims at. That's why it's called sudden awakening. Right from the beginning, you aim for that which is you, that which you already have. Experiencing. Already free. Personally, you must personally experience this. Right? Have a good teacher, good instructions, good support, Sangha, you practice. And then you won't get lost. You've tasted freedom. Is the work done? Hell no. There's so much work to be done. The human side. The history that made us who we are. The shortcomings. And we engage in the Bodhisattva path. It's a long journey. No need to hurry. You just practice. Okay, I'll end here.